welcome back to my channel. Today, I have an insane, real-life story that will leave you speechless. Imagine waking up one morning, grabbing your coffee, and stepping outside, only to find your car gone. Not stolen, not misplaced, but towed, right from your own driveway. And the reason? Because some entitled HOA Karen decided gasoline cars were banned in the neighborhood. Yeah, you heard that right. Banned. Before we dive into this wild ride, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Because trust me, you don't want to miss stories like this. Now, let's get into it. It all started when I moved into this so-called eco-friendly neighborhood. At first, it seemed perfect. Beautiful houses, quiet streets, and friendly neighbors. But little did I know, behind those smiles was a power-hungry HOA president who thought she ruled the world. Her name? Karen. And trust me, she lived up to every bit of that name. Now, I drive a 2018 Ford F-150, a solid truck, nothing fancy, but reliable. I've always parked it in my own driveway, just like everyone else parks their cars. But one morning, I woke up, walked outside, and my truck was gone. At first, I thought maybe I'd parked it somewhere else. Maybe I was losing my mind. But no, my driveway was empty, and my heart started pounding. I ran inside, grabbed my phone, and called the towing company. And what they told me? I could barely believe it. They said my truck had been towed on HOA orders. I didn't get a warning. No notice. Nothing. Just gone. My blood was boiling, and I knew exactly who was behind this. Karen. I didn't waste a second. I stormed over to Karen's house, my hands shaking with rage. She lived just a few doors down, in the biggest house on the block, the kind of place that screamed, "I think I'm better than you." I banged on her door, and after a few moments, she opened it with the smuggest smile I'd ever seen. "Oh, you," she said, crossing her arms. "I was wondering when you'd show up." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my cool. "Where's my truck, Karen?" I demanded. She let out a fake sigh and shook her head. "Oh, you mean the environmental hazard you had sitting in your driveway? It's been towed. You're welcome." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Environmental hazard? It's a gas-powered pickup truck, Karen, like millions of other cars in this country. She smirked. "Not in this neighborhood. We're an eco-conscious community. The HOA has new rules. Only electric vehicles are allowed to be parked outside. Gasoline cars must be kept inside garages, or else they're removed." I felt like my head was about to explode. "That's not even legal. You can't just change the rules and tow my truck without telling me." Karen shrugged. "Oh, but we can. The new rule passed last month. If you actually read your HOA emails, you'd know that." I clenched my fists. This was insane. I had never agreed to any of this. And worse, my truck was sitting in some impound lot, racking up fees by the hour. This wasn't about the environment. This was about control. I wasn't going to let this slide. I turned on my heel and marched straight back to my house, my mind racing. This wasn't just some petty HOA rule. This was theft. I needed to act fast before this turned into an even bigger nightmare. First, I called the towing company again. "How much is it going to cost to get my truck back?" I asked, already dreading the answer. The guy on the other end sighed. "Well, since it was an HOA-ordered tow, there's an initial fee of $350, plus a daily storage fee of $75. I gritted my teeth. This was robbery. My truck had only been gone a few hours, and I was already looking at over $400 just to get back something that should have never been taken in the first place. I had two choices: pay up and fight later, or fight now and risk losing more money. I decided to call a lawyer. Luckily, my cousin was in real estate law, so I explained everything to him. He listened carefully and then let out a low whistle. "Yeah, that's illegal as hell," he said. "HOAs can make parking rules, but they can't just tow your car without proper notice, especially from your own driveway. That's private property." That was exactly what I needed to hear. I wasn't crazy. Karen was overstepping her power. My cousin gave me a plan. Pay to get my truck back today, then hit the HOA with a legal demand. If they didn't comply, we'd sue. With renewed energy, I grabbed my keys and drove straight to the impound lot. But the second I walked in, my anger hit a whole new level. Because guess who was standing there, waiting for me? Karen. With that same smug grin. I stopped dead in my tracks, my fists clenching at my sides. What the hell was she doing here? She wasn't just some HOA busybody anymore. She was obsessed. She tilted her head and smirked. "Oh, fancy seeing you here," she said, her voice dripping with fake politeness. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my temper in check. "What the hell are you doing here, Karen?" She folded her arms and let out a little laugh. "Just making sure our neighborhood rules are being followed. You're not planning on bringing that gas guzzler back, are you?" That was it. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "Listen, I don't know what power trip you're on, but you can't make up rules and steal my truck. I already talked to a lawyer, and guess what? You're breaking the law." Her smile faltered for a second. Just a second. But she recovered quickly. "Oh, please," she scoffed. "You signed the HOA agreement when you moved in. We have every right to enforce our policies. If you don't like it, maybe you should consider moving." I laughed, shaking my head. "You really think you're untouchable, don't you? You didn't even follow proper notice procedures. You're about to find out real quick that I'm not the kind of person you can push around." She just rolled her eyes. "Do whatever you want," she said, turning to leave. "But that truck is not coming back to my neighborhood." I watched her walk out, my blood boiling. Oh, she had no idea what was coming. I turned to the clerk at the impound desk, trying to push down my frustration. "How do I get my truck back?" The guy gave me an apologetic look. "You just need to pay the fees." I took out my credit card and slammed it on the counter. Fine, I'd pay now, but Karen was going to regret ever messing with me. Driving my truck back home felt like a victory, but I knew this wasn't over. Karen wanted a fight. She was going to get one. The second I pulled into my driveway, I grabbed my phone and started gathering evidence. Photos, emails, HOA documents, everything. If I was going to take Karen down, I needed proof that what she did was illegal. I found the HOA's parking policy, and just as my cousin had said, nowhere did it mention a ban on gasoline vehicles. The rule she cited? It wasn't official. This wasn't just an overreach. It was fraud. I wasted no time. I filed a formal complaint against the HOA with my lawyer's help and contacted the city's housing authority. But I didn't stop there. I took my story online. I posted everything on the neighborhood Facebook group, exposing Karen's lies. Within hours, the post blew up. People were furious. Turns out, I wasn't her only victim. Neighbors started commenting with their own horror stories, fines for ridiculous infractions, threats, even illegal evictions. Karen had been running the HOA like a personal dictatorship for years, and people were sick of it. Then, something unexpected happened. A news station reached out. They had seen my post and wanted to do a story on it. This wasn't just some petty HOA drama anymore. This was corruption. The next morning, a reporter showed up at my house, camera crew in tow. They interviewed me, filmed the tow receipts, and even knocked on Karen's door. And when she answered, oh, she was livid. She tried to slam the door in their faces, but it was too late. The truth was out, and things were about to get a whole lot worse for Karen. By the time the news segment aired that evening, Karen's reign of terror was crumbling. The story spread like wildfire, not just in our neighborhood, but across the entire city. People were outraged. The HOA board was flooded with complaints, and neighbors started demanding an emergency meeting. Karen, of course, tried to do damage control. She sent out a pathetic email claiming it was all a misunderstanding and that the HOA was just trying to maintain the community's values. But no one was buying it. The receipts were right there. She had broken the law, abused her power, and worst of all, she got caught. And then, the final blow came. The city launched an official investigation into our HOA. Turns out, Karen had been misusing HOA funds for years. Personal vacations, luxury items, even a new pool in her backyard. The illegal towing? Just one of many shady things she had done under the table. It all came crashing down fast. At the emergency HOA meeting, neighbors turned on her instantly. People were yelling, demanding answers, calling for her resignation. And when she tried to defend herself, no one listened. The board had no choice. They voted to remove her on the spot. But the best part? Karen wasn't just kicked off the HOA. She was facing legal trouble. With the fraud investigation in full swing, she was looking at serious charges. And me? I sat back and watched as the woman who thought she could steal my truck and get away with it had her entire world collapse around her. Justice was finally being served. A few weeks later, Karen was completely gone, not just from the HOA, but from the entire neighborhood. Word spread that she had been forced to sell her house to cover legal fees. Some neighbors said she had moved to another state to escape the humiliation. But honestly, I didn't care. She got what she deserved. As for me, I made sure to attend every HOA meeting from that point forward. The board, now under new leadership, reversed all of Karen's ridiculous policies, including the so-called gasoline vehicle ban. They even changed the bylaws to prevent anyone like Karen from ever gaining that kind of power again. One evening, as I was sitting on my front porch, a few neighbors walked by and gave me a nod of appreciation. One even stopped to say, "Man, you really took her down. We all owe you for that." I just smiled. Karen messed with the wrong guy. At the end of the day, this wasn't just about my truck. It was about standing up to entitled people who think they can control others just because they have a little power. And if this whole experience taught me one thing, never let a Karen run your HOA. At the end of the day, entitlement and corruption always catch up with people. Karen thought she was untouchable, but the truth came out and she lost everything. Justice was served. If you ever find yourself dealing with an HOA nightmare or someone abusing their power, don't stay silent. Fight back. Know your rights. Stand up for yourself. Because people like Karen only win if you let them. And remember, document everything. It could be the difference between losing and getting the justice you deserve. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insane real-life stories. See you in the next one.